The book of Genesis holds mysteries that reach far deeper than most people ever imagine. Hidden among the stories of creation, the long family lists, and the holy promises is a nearly forgotten account, an enormous war that shook the world during the lifetime of Abraham. Imagine this moment. 4 kings, each ruling strong nations, marched side by side to confront an enemy that no ordinary army could defeat, an army of 10,000 giants. Were they the Nephilim? The famous descendants of the fallen angels mentioned in ancient writings, feared by early civilizations across the earth. But who exactly were these kings? What ancient cultures had the courage to face such overwhelming force? And even more mysterious, why was this war wiped from memory and buried in history? The explanation is more astonishing than most would expect. Old manuscripts mention 3 different kinds of giants, each with their own strength, appearance, and abilities. These massive beings, towering far above regular humans, may have been the final survivors of a forgotten era. Do you wish to uncover how this war began, how it unfolded, and the secrets hidden in the shadows of the past? Then prepare yourself for a stunning journey. Like, share, and add your thoughts so more people can rediscover a story lost for ages. The truth is ready to rise, and it may change everything you believed about the early history of humankind. A monumental event faded into ancient memory. A conflict of unimaginable scale fought in the days of Abraham, when powerful kings and entire armies collided in a battle whose echo still seems to vibrate through the corridors of time. Yet many overlook one crucial fact. This was not simply a struggle between human nations. Behind the weapons and armor, something far greater, something gigantic was involved. Genesis chapter 14 describes this extraordinary moment, 4 kings against 5. But beneath this political and territorial clash lies a hidden truth. This war included a legion of 10,000 giants, colossal beings whose existence challenges everything we know about human history. Who were the rulers brave enough to face forces far beyond human strength? What ancient societies united to form such a powerful alliance? And who were these giants, these monstrous warriors who fought, died, and vanished on the old plains? Where did they come from, and what traces remained after the final battle? Now, let us step together into this mysterious story, Genesis 14, where between the sacred lines rests the record of a forgotten war. And it happened in the days of Amraphel, king of Shinar, Arioch, king of Elasar, Chedorlaomer, king of Elam, and Tidal, king of nations. These rulers waged war against Bera, king of Sodom, Birsha, king of Gomorrah, Shinab, king of Admah, Shemeba, king of Zeboim, and the king of Bela, which is Zoar. All of them met together in the valley of Siddim, the area known today as the Salt Sea. They had served Chedorlaomer for 12 years, but in the 13th year they rebelled. So in the 14th year, Chedorlaomer and the kings who were allied with him came and struck down the Rephaim in Ashtaroth Karnim, the Zuzim in Ham, the Emim in Shaveh Kiriathaim, and the Horites in their mountains of Seir all the way to El Paran by the wilderness. Then they turned back to En Mishpat, also called Kadesh, and conquered the territory of the Amalekites and the Amorites who lived in Hazazon Tamar. Then the kings of Sodom, Gomorrah, Admah, Zeboim, and Bela, Zoar, went out and arranged themselves for battle in the valley of Siddim, 4 kings against 5. The valley was filled with tar pits, and the kings of Sodom and Gomorrah retreated and fell there, while the survivors fled into the mountains. The invaders carried off all the possessions of Sodom and Gomorrah, all their food, and left. They also captured Lot, Abram's nephew who lived in Sodom, along with all his belongings, and took him away. When Abram learned that his relative had been captured, he acted without delay. He gathered his 318 trained men, servants born and raised in his own household, and chased the invaders all the way to Dan. At night he divided his forces, he and his men attacking from different sides, striking the enemy and pursuing them as far as Hobah, north of Damascus. Abram recovered all the stolen goods, and he brought back his nephew Lot, along with Lot's belongings, the women, and the rest of the captives. After Abram returned from defeating Chedorlaomer, and the kings allied with him, the king of Sodom came out to meet him in the valley of Shaveh, the king's valley. But this story does not truly begin here. Its origins stretch back into a land wrapped in ancient mystery. Shinar. Shinar, a name that rolls like thunder through the ages. This term refers to Sumer, the birthplace of the earliest kings and some of the first known civilizations, a fertile region where empires rose, massive ziggurats were built, and the earliest writings were pressed into clay tablets. Many identify Shinar with Babylon itself, a center of influence and wisdom where, according to ancient accounts, early human kingdoms grew under the guidance of beings later called the ancient gods, figures said to have taught humanity the foundations of knowledge, warfare, and leadership. It is in this primeval world that Amraphel, king of Shinar, appears, marching beside Tidal, king of nations, Arioch, king of Elasar, and Chedorlaomer, king of Elam. Together they created a terrifying alliance, destroying Sodom and the nearby cities in a violent campaign that turned the valley of Siddim into a desolate wasteland, a place where kings and giants fell together. But there is an even more remarkable element, one that shifts the entire scale of this ancient conflict. These kings fought against enormous beings, creatures so huge and frightening that official history preferred to hide their existence. These giants, described in ancient tales, were said to walk alongside rulers and soldiers, leaving behind footprints as deep as the early roots of human civilization. Among the kings who marched into this war, one name carries a mysterious weight: Amraphel. But who exactly was this enigmatic figure? Some researchers suggest that Amraphel may not have been a personal name at all, but rather an ancient Sumerian title. There are theories connecting him to Kunta-Rastu, a legendary Sumerian ruler whose name could mean the Great Man. This idea is supported by the structure of early Mesopotamian languages, Kuntar aligning with the prefix Am in the Hebrew Amraphel, and Rastu possibly linked to Rapal, a Semitic word expressing spiritual power, authority, and dominance. If this interpretation is correct, then Amraphel was far more than a normal king. He may have been a ruler initiated into forgotten knowledge, a man still holding fragments of the forbidden wisdom from civilizations before the flood. His reasons for going to war, then, may have reached far beyond politics. It was not only about expanding territory or punishing rebellious cities. Something hidden was involved: the ancient knowledge of the Nephilim and the giants, a power believed to have vanished after the flood, but which certain early kings may have tried to obtain again. Among the leaders of this coalition, another name rises out of ancient shadows: Chedorlaomer, the fearsome king of Elam. His rule covered the land of the Elamites, one of the oldest peoples descending from Shem, Noah's son. The region he governed roughly matches what we call Iran today. But Chedorlaomer's authority extended far beyond mountains and deserts, influencing the entire Fertile Crescent. Elamite records refer to him as Kudur Lagamar, a title expressing power, prestige, and awe, one respected even by surrounding nations. But Chedorlaomer did not rule alone. Beside him stood Arioch, king of Elasar, a domain whose exact location is still uncertain. Some scholars place Elasar in Asia Minor, possibly in Cappadocia or Antioch, lands filled with ancient stone fortresses and legends of demigod warriors and kings said to have walked with heavenly beings. Others believe it may have been a completely forgotten kingdom, an ancient city that rose briefly and then disappeared under the sands of time, taking its royal bloodline and secrets with it. What unites all these ancient names? They rise from the depths of history like echoes that refuse to fade. They were men made of flesh and bone, yes, but also pieces in a much larger struggle where power, secret knowledge, and the influence of the ancient gods intertwined with the fate of humanity. And beneath this tangled network of alliances and hidden desires, one of the most mysterious wars ever recorded took shape: a battle between earthly kings and forgotten giants. Another puzzling member of this formidable coalition is Tidal, the enigmatic King of Nations, mentioned in the Hebrew text as Tidal. Very little is known about where he came from, yet even the meaning of his name stirs curiosity. The root word goyim, used in both Hebrew and Phoenician, literally means nations, or more broadly, peoples. This unusual linguistic detail suggests something extraordinary. Tidal may not have been a typical king ruling over a single land. He may have been the leader of a multi-tribal confederation, a vast network of different peoples gathered under one banner. Instead of a fixed kingdom, He might have commanded a roaming empire, a force of nomadic fighters, tribal chiefs, and clans of various origins, all loyal to him as their supreme ruler. This interpretation matches the theories of modern researchers like David Rohl, who proposes connecting Tidal with Tishal, an ancient Hurrian leader whose influence spanned the Zagros Mountains, the vital corridor between modern Iran and Iraq. If this link is true, the mystery surrounding Tidal becomes even deeper. He may have ruled over a diverse and fluid empire, rising at the crossroads of major civilizations, Sumerian, Elamite, and Akkadian. When viewed through this wider perspective, the alliance of the four kings in Genesis 14 becomes a rich tapestry of cultures and powers. Amraphel, king of Shinar, tied to Sumer, birthplace of the first cities and the divine kings of Mesopotamia. Arioch, king of Elasar, possibly linked to Cappadocia, a land of stone citadels and ancient trade routes in Asia Minor. Chedorlaomer, king of Elam, a Semitic ruler descended from the Elamites and sovereign over a region that corresponds to modern Iran. Tidal, king of nations, the leader who gathered scattered tribes under one command, a multi-ethnic host united by his authority, not by bloodline. With this in mind, Tidal may have been far more than a simple ally. He could have been the commander of forgotten peoples, gaining his authority not through inheritance, but through prestige, strength, and an uncanny ability to unite rival groups into a single force, a true king of nations in every sense of the phrase. And under the leadership of these four rulers, Amraphel, Arioch, Chedorlaomer, and Tidal, one of the most astonishing events in the Old Testament unfolded, a war of extraordinary proportions where humanity faced the unimaginable. Genesis 14 reveals a conflict beyond ordinary understanding. It was not just a struggle over territory, it was a war between kings and giants. A clash between human armies and beings of incredible power, descendants of strange bloodlines that reached back to the world before the flood. Ancient records describe three races of giants rising against the alliance of the four kings, the Rephaim, the Zuzim, and the Emim. Each race had its own unique characteristics. Some were said to have bones as strong as bronze. Others were so tall that no ordinary human could stand beside them without appearing like a child. Yet they all shared one unmistakable trait: their overwhelming strength and their fearsome reputation as warriors. No enemy dared to challenge. These enormous beings were the final survivors of a world long forgotten, a world where the line separating humans and the divine had been shattered, and where the ancient rebellion of the Nephilim still echoed across the earth. Rephaim, the giants of Ashtaroth Karnaim. The first of the giant races mentioned in the account is the Rephaim. They were described as beings of unnatural size, towering giants with incredibly dense bodies and massive muscles, often said to reach heights of up to 5 meters, more than 16 feet tall. Among ancient civilizations, even hearing their name stirred fear. These were not simple fighters. They were living titans, terrifying reminders of a time when the boundaries between mortals and heavenly beings had been shattered. It was in Ashtaroth Karnaim that the Rephaim confronted the armies of the four kings. The battle was a sight of pure dread. The earth shook beneath their colossal steps, and the clashing of weapons roared across the desert plains. A single swing from a Rephaim warrior could break an ordinary man instantly. Yet despite their incredible power, they fell to the tactics and unwavering force of the coalition led by Chedorlaomer. This victory became the first movement in a larger campaign to conquer lands ruled by these massive beings. But who exactly were the Rephaim? Ancient traditions present dark interpretations. Many scholars believe they were the direct descendants of the Nephilim, the giants mentioned in Genesis 6, survivors of the Great Flood, remnants of an illicit bloodline that avoided total destruction and continued to roam the earth. Others consider them a hybrid race, born from ancient unions between humans and celestial beings. Zuzim, the hidden race swallowed by time. The second group mentioned is the Zuzim, a people shrouded in even deeper secrecy. Scripture gives almost nothing about them, neither their ancestry nor their appearance. They are briefly noted as inhabitants of the land of Ham, and then history goes silent, as if time itself erased their presence. Guided by Chedorlaomer, the four kings moved against the Zuzim, and once more the blood of giants stained the land. Lost accounts of this war describe cries echoing for days and spears snapping like twigs against the monstrous bodies of these beings. Yet even they were conquered. Were the Zuzim so terrifying that their memory had to be removed from human history? Or were they the last descendants of a forbidden bloodline whose story was intentionally hidden, preserved only in scattered fragments within ancient texts? Whatever the truth, the Zuzim remain a missing piece in the great mystery of the pre-flood races, a people buried beneath the sands of forgetfulness, Emim, the monstrous guardians of vanished lands. The third, and perhaps most dreaded of these races, is the Emim, known in Hebrew and Aramaic by the same name. Their name, Emim, literally means the terrifying ones or the monstrous. Even hearing this name caused nearby nations to shudder. Their territory covered strategic lands near the routes that the Israelites would later travel during the Exodus. The Emim were often compared to the Anakim, another legendary race of giants mentioned in Scripture. The Moabites considered them relatives of the Rephaim, suggesting that all these giant clans shared the same ancient ancestry, descendants of the colossal beings, the Titans of the forgotten world. Described as having sharp fangs, long arms, and immense destructive strength, the Emim commanded the plains with a presence that felt almost supernatural. No human army dared to confront them directly, and yet, when the coalition of the four kings led by Chedorlaomer advanced against them, even these intimidating guardians fell under the force and discipline of the allied armies. Scripture reveals little about what followed this war, but its impact cannot be denied. The battle against the 10,000 giants was not merely a fight for land. It was a war over a disappearing world, a campaign to wipe out the last traces of an age when giants still walked among humans. And so, through fire and destruction, the ancient strength of the Colossi was silenced. But their legends never truly died. They continue to murmur through the hidden corners of history, waiting for the day when humanity remembers that giants once lived on the earth. The conflict was unquestionably monumental, a clash between two different worlds. On one side stood the Rephaim, the Zuzim, and the Emim, creatures of massive flesh and stone-like power, titans whose very steps made the ground quiver. On the other side stood the four kings of the earth, leading disciplined armies of men who believed they were fighting not simply enemies, but an ancient danger that had to be erased forever. Ancient writings claimed that these giants reached heights of 4 to 5 meters, their strength equal to that of dozens of ordinary fighters. Even so, human spears rose against them, and in a struggle that blended bravery with desperation, humankind prevailed. But the victory came at a dreadful price. The battlefield became a sea of blood and sand. The plains where the fighting took place remained marked for centuries, as if the ground itself remembered the weight of the fallen titans. Thousands of soldiers died, crushed, struck down, or torn apart by the giant warriors. Yet step by step, the human armies pushed forward, weakening the giants' defenses until the last of them fell. How the four kings managed to defeat such overwhelming power is a question without a clear answer. Scripture offers no explanation. Some believe divine intervention turned the battle in humanity's favor. Others suggest that the kings used knowledge and weaponry inherited from ancient civilizations, possibly even knowledge of celestial origin. Whatever the truth, one thing is certain. After that day, the roar of the giants grew silent, and humanity moved forward, never fully understanding what they had conquered or what they had destroyed. And now I want to hear from you. Had you ever heard of this forgotten war? This epic confrontation between humans and giants in the days of Abraham? What are your thoughts about this story? Share your comments and reflections below. This was another chapter in our series about the giants of Scripture. If this story awakened your curiosity, explore the other episodes. Links will appear at the end of this video. May God bless you all. See you in the next one.